All right, you ready, buddy?
This is Rowena Dooley asking citizens to report for duty.
I've been staring at the moon. Take me higher, waiting for your call.
This is Rowena Dooley asking Soul citizens to report for duty.
Ooh, greetings and welcome. Greetings and welcome to Soul Voices. I'm Griffin Gaming RPG. Where did I lose my buddy Fastcart at? Where are you at? Hold on a minute.
I'm here. I'm on camera.
Yeah, but you're
to see
not
me.
here. Where are you? Hang on, let me change my screen. I put you up. Oh, there you are. Okay, I was gonna say.
Okay.
I was about to panic. I might say, I know I put his screen up here. Good afternoon again, everybody. Welcome back to Soul Citizens. I'm Griffin Gaming RPG, and I'm here with my good friend Fastcart FC. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. That was a pretty good summer. We'll get to that in a minute, but I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, we are bouncing back. We know we're a little late coming on, but thank you guys. Those of you who are tuning in and watching us, we ran a little bit over on. Today was the Star Citizen Content Creators Summit, and I'm sure many of you got a chance to watch it. This is going to be an abbreviated show today. As you guys know, normally we talk about information from Spectrum and Reddit and the gaming industry, but we also know that a lot of you guys were watching the live stream that we did of the summit with the content creators. Fastcart, it was a big job, but we got through it. 3 hours, 3.5 hours, 4 hours. Was it
No,
4
over
hours?
3 hours. Yeah.
4
Well,
hours.
you started at 10:30 my time. We just
Yeah, so
ending,
it was
yeah.
about 4 hours almost with many of the cool content creators, Star Citizen content creators. I didn't have time to throw up any graphics, so why don't you?
There's no tweet or anything like that.
Well, I did get the tweet out. I just put that out.
Oh, you did?
Would you just real quick give your just summarize your thoughts about us doing this, or tell people what it was we did, even so in case people didn't see it?
Well, I can read from the thing, Robert, because
Okay.
I don't have it up. But so basically, it was a content creator summit for people who stream Star Citizen. You don't have to really be a current streamer, but if you have streamed Star Citizen, you're welcome. Just as long as you've done it before, like the past 30 days, you're welcome. You could do Twitch, YouTube, or TikTok, or what have you. We had Mr. Hoska on, and they only do, well, they mostly do graphics, but they do some YouTube too. So yeah, we had a whole bunch of not what I would say normal stuff outside of YouTube and
but yeah, but it was content. It's content. It didn't have to be. It didn't have to be on a platform per se, but it was people
it didn't have to be a
platform
independent.
Yeah, because we had writers.
And we had like I want to say 46 people on. That's the most that I saw, and went quite well. We went overtime, like we tend to do when you have people from Star Citizen community talk about Star Citizen.
But they seem to enjoy themselves. So listen, what we're doing, as you guys know on the show, we usually present these topics and questions. And you get to come in and talk with us directly, give us your thoughts on the things. But what we do want to do today is open up this to basically what your thoughts were about the Content Creator Summit. Anything that stood out from you, maybe some things that somebody might have shared that was there that maybe you didn't know. Maybe it was the first time you got to hear a certain content creator really kind of open up and talk about what it means to be creating content in Star Citizen. We could talk, one thing we didn't do, Fastcart, was talk about us. As Soul Citizens.
Yeah, we did. Well, there was a whole bunch of people, but I do want to say that if you do want to come in and talk with us, make sure you click the link below, the Discord link below, and come into the chat queue, and we can talk to you. But yeah, DK and I and Jade, we covered Soul Citizens a bit in the introduction.
Yeah. Who was that? Red Huntress. Red Huntress, thank you so much for that subscription. We appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for the subscription.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I would tend to be. I didn't want to raise my hand because there's so many other people having to raise their hand raised that I was just like, okay, we got people talking about this topic. I didn't need to add to it.
Yeah, no, and I guess, and forgive me for my voice. No, I wasn't saying it that way because I know we tried to minimize us because we really wanted to highlight people in the community.
Exactly.
But I'm just saying we never really did get to even talk very much about Soul Citizens and the things that we deal with is my point. And I think at one point I maybe mentioned a little bit about something when we talked about bringing in money, because one of the things that I think comes out of a session like that is understanding that content creators are there because they want to be there. First off, they're doing it for fun. There weren't really people saying, oh, I'm trying to do this so I can go make a living off of it. You know what I mean? There were people who saw the potential of it, but that was not necessarily their goal. The majority of the people felt that they do it because they enjoy the game and the prospects of what this game can be. I know for us, go ahead.
And to your point, it was like some people. I don't want to name names, but some people when I first started watching Twitch, I saw how hard it was for them to make a living just streaming, and I was like, no, I'm not gonna get into that. That seems like because it was like if they take a break, it breaks everything for them. It breaks their track records and everything like that. So I'm like, oh no, that's something I can do.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's work. I mean, there are people who I admire that were in the room today, and I still don't know how they find time to, some of them still working a full-time job, and then finding 3 or 4 days a week to be creating content. I mean, that, there's this, because you and I both know this, it's not just recording the content. There are many people who produce stuff and they have to edit it later on. They've got to go back and cut things. They've got to put inserts in. They've got to do graphics, titling. There's a whole lot of work and time that goes into doing any of this stuff. The thing that I thought was cool that people did start to highlight, and I'm sure some people do know this, but there is the expenses of doing this stuff too. Some people talked about hardware, right? Just having the right computer to be able to live stream and play the game. Some people talked about all of the little incidental things you have to do live streaming, whether it's a stream deck or the microphone that you use or the cameras that you use. There's always this constant of wanting to make your presentation better. When you first start out, you might have some little $20 camera that you just started working with, and next thing you know, you're realizing, hey, I don't look as good as Fastcart does. And I'm like, Fastcart, what camera are you using? And you're like, oh, I'm using the Razer so-and-so that costs $200, right? I mean, all this stuff, right?
I got it on sale.
Yeah, that's what you do. You wait for it to go on sale, put on your wish list and wait, right? But yeah, there's all that. Then there's like the behind the scenes expenses of things that people don't know. Like, for example, we do a podcast that's visual, but we also do an audio podcast that goes out on SoundCloud. Well, SoundCloud has a subscription base that you have to pay for. If you wanted to get out to iTunes and if you wanted to get out to Spotify, all that stuff takes revenue that has to come in to take care of that. The fact that the way we produce our information on social media, back in the day, I was literally having to find time to copy and paste on every platform that we were on. And if something was wrong or typed in incorrectly, if I was doing, I don't know, how many posts do we do a week? About 1, 2,
4, 3.
No,
Wow, you're talking about.
no. How many posts do we
Oh,
do?
you're talking about tweets.
a
Oh, I don't
week?
know.
Yeah. We do 3 on Monday, 2 on Tuesday, another 3 on Wednesday, 2 on Thursday, 2 or 3 on Friday,
I lost count.
3 on Saturday, and another 3 on Sunday. And I would have to go and do that, and make sure that that stuff went out. And so I said, you know what? I found out there's software out there that will do that for you. But that software has a subscription annually that has to be paid in order for that to go. So there's all these little things that we end up doing that revenue is a factor. And yet and still, we still take the revenue that we get from our followers, our subscribers, our members, and we turn that money back in to do our giveaways and other things of that nature. So there is a whole business side of this that takes place that has nothing to do with the fun, right? I mean, there's no fun in me posting. Trust me, I have no fun in posting.
And speaking of business, Certified Gumbo, thank you for continuing the gifts from Space Tomato Gaming. Who appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So okay, let's bring some folks in. We've got somebody there already. Red Bear 1. I guess he was watching. Hopefully he was watching. Hopefully he won't say he came in and said I wasn't watching. But Red, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay.
How are you, man?
I'm doing fine, guys. To be honest, I was only there at the end.
Okay.
And I picked something up what you have told, and that spoke to me.
Okay.
I think we mentioned in earlier episodes that content creators have been more aware of what they communicate to the community as well. As
The last topic.
Yeah, that's the last topic. But I thought it was very relevant, very important to mention. So that was one of the, I think, very good points you made there. The second one is from a different content creator, and that was in chat, by the way, and it was about the vote. If you don't know what the vote is, it was the vote about shall we make the game or shall we go all out?
Oh yeah, you're talking about the early thing. Yeah. The poll.
And the argument was like, people now cannot vote on it anymore. The vote was years ago. You cannot turn back time anymore. And I thought it was an argument that was not very well made by the content creator this time. And I thought like, this is a decision that has been made like long time ago. So it's kind of weird to roll that back in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it was a long time ago, absolutely. And that has been always there's always been mixed feelings about that whole thing when there was the question of how far do we want to take this project, because it sounds good, right? But the reality, some people didn't realize that all those cool things were going to have to take time, right?
And
development. Or they underestimated the time they would take.
Or no, I'm even going to talk about that. I don't think that when people were asking for more, they had any idea of what it takes to develop a game. And the more you're compounding that, the more you're exponentially saying that this is going to have to take more time. The game, in fastcart, to your point, the game of Squadron 42 is still been the timetable issue. Star Citizen is out. It's released. People are playing it. And that has always been like at least I always felt, because coming out of Eve, because you know how Eve is, fastcart.
I think you want to be careful when you say Star Citizen and out.
No. It's we're playing it. We're playing it. We're not playing Squadron. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
I'm saying we've gotten Star Citizen, and we've gotten the PTU, and we've gotten the place where we go and test. That we've gotten that. But Squadron 42 is still the one thing, and that was the thing that was given dates in 2014, 2015, 2016.
260.
You know,
Yeah, I know.
that
Been there.
people still they can't even get another freaking vertical slice, let alone get a game, right? So
Yes.
you know, I'm just saying, you know, for people, depending on when they came into the information, someone said this earlier, depending on how much of the information you have can very much sculpt what you believe about this project, you know. And if you weren't around back then, if you don't know about that old vote, if you don't know about that exploration was the number one thing, but you know, if you don't know that, then people's perception about Star Citizen is in a different space.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Red, thank you, man. Appreciate you dropping in as
welcome.
always. Okay. All right. We got Pops in space. Boy, we don't have a lot of people jumping in today. Oh, okay.
Yeah, well.
That's okay. It's going to be a short show. I can tell you that.
Fine.
Pops, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. You got to watch the Content Creator Summit. You were there.
He was part of it.
Yeah, I got more than watching it. I was involved in it. And
by
we're
the
going
way,
to
for
vote
those
for bunnies.
Right, vote for bunnies. For those of you who don't know,
Bunny farmer.
yeah, for those of you who don't know, Fastcart mentioned this earlier, that there are people from a variety of disciplines that participated in this, not just people who were on Twitch, YouTube, and TikTok, but maybe people who produce music, or people who produce machinima, or people who did photography. Anyone who produced a form of content that's media that's gone on any of those platforms, they were the invitees to this event. Okay, so Pops, go ahead, give us your thoughts on today.
Oh wow! I mean, it was great. It was one of the things that I just briefly on one of them. One of the things that I took away from it was you got to see the perspective of other content creators. It a little bit more in depth than just seeing them on their podcasts or whatever. You got to hear more about their opinion, why they're doing this. And I would probably say 99% of us do this just for fun. It's a labor of love.
Yeah.
And it's not only just a labor of love, because I'm quite sure, as you just mentioned, it's also a labor of wallet. I'm, because my son and myself, we expanding out of love for the game, and we're moving into CIG work, and it definitely gives you a different perspective, more respect. Right now I'm working on the puppeteering, making the puppets, moving the puppets, animating them to different scenarios. And so many things go wrong. And you're like, wait a minute, what happened to my whole dance scene? I'm like, the other day, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's gone. So for us to sit back and think, in references to Star Citizen, for us to think that it happens so in sync for Star Citizen. Oh, just sit down, make character. Boom, 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 boom. No, you've got to put clothes on. The clothes bleed through the characters. So many, many, many different things, that happen to them. Their particular movement may cause something, and then again, to go back to the technology that Star Citizen is making, and then to try to do all these animations that is in sync with this technology that they're doing, which is brand new, it's got to be causing them headaches. So it's a big respect for them.
I just want to say that undo is your friend and save is your friend. Those two are your best friends.
they sometimes FC undo does not work.
Cut it, yeah.
It does not.
Man.
Yeah, Pops. No, I appreciate what you're saying, Pops, because, like you said, because you guys are now working and using development software, and people have said this, right? When people start doing it, or if they're in the industry, so you have a different appreciation for the work. It's very easy to be a backseat developer, right? And talk about how we think things should happen quickly or not fast enough. And don't get me wrong, like any company that's starting up, as you mentioned, They're developing technology. They're building a business. There's going to be those days where things just don't go right, and it's frustrating. It's very frustrating.
Yes,
I still believe that 70%, maybe 80% of the people who got into Star Citizen had no clue about what game development was about. What they knew about was what we've seen from the outside, right? Going to an E3, watching some videos on YouTube or whatever, talking to somebody. But I'm talking about people who actually, that's what they do for a living. That's what they practice all the time. And don't get me wrong, those people have had their criticisms, say, hey, there's some things you think CIG could have done differently, and that's okay. But I think that a lot of folks got into this regardless of the time frame, regardless of whether they said 2014 or 2016. I think that there are people who their expectation was something that was going to happen much, much faster. And I said back in 2015 or 14, it'll be 10 years before we get, Star Citizen halfway decent. That's how I felt about it, only because I played Eve, and Eve had been in existence for 10 years and still was having problems. So I was just saying,
still haven't had walking stations.
Right. So, to your point, Pops, the appreciation of what you're doing now helps you understand better and have a greater appreciation for what CIG staff is trying to do. Too.
But you know what, Griff, I'm not gonna try to hog up anytime, because I know we got people waiting to come in. But what has been very important to me, and I know I've said this to you, and fastcart has heard it, and what you do, this is encouragement for people to come into Soul Citizens and sit and watch the show. Listen, even on the when we have these types, the talk show hosts, because it has been where you've taken us a step backwards, like especially last Sunday's show had a big impact, because we've got to see something that from the beginning when he started it. And you get to see a perspective, and you go into detail on what was it, the company they hired to make ships, and they messed it all up, and they said, no, we got to...
One of them was Ilfonic.
Ilfonic,
right. The big one.
And when people first got their hangars, and this journey can give you a respect on what's going on and going forward. And it's been a big help to me for learning wise, because I like to sit back and learn before I open my mouth.
Or your wallet, for that matter.
Yeah. Well, it was too late for that.
I just want to say that if you started on the journey right when the Kickstarter started, I joke and say people who took the journey probably would have had the equivalent of a master's degree in game development by now. They started to pay attention to everything. So I would say I'm not a backseat developer. I'm more like a trunk. I'm kind of working from the trunk.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm way behind.
Yeah, Pops, thanks a lot for stopping in, man.
Oh man, it's been a pleasure.
I'm glad you had a good time today.
Yeah.
All right, let me say this too, because I understand the frustration. There is frustration. Everybody wants to play this game. It's the game that we, as people say, it's the game we've all dreamed about, right?
Right.
But let me throw some stats out, fastcart. Most AAA games, most average development time can anywhere from 5 to 7 years, and for games that are really elaborate can go 7 to 10 years in development. I mean, just before the game comes out, right? Quite often, those games that produce games within 3 to 5 years, or let's say 3 to 5 years, right? Most of the time, if they're AAA, they're an established studio, already staffed, already have a game engine in place, and it takes time to do that. I think that psychologically people get thrown off because they'll see a game come out this year. I'm just using a particular franchise for the heck of it. Let's say it's something like Call of Duty. Call of Duty gets made within 2 years. The next Call of Duty is coming out. And subconsciously, there's a feeling that it took 2 years for the next Call of Duty to come out. When people don't know that Call of Duty 7 actually got started working on 4 years before Call of Duty 6 came out. So they don't realize that there is a length of time for development. Now, take into consideration if Star Citizen is the average game of 5 to 7, let's say 5 to 7 years for development. That was the expectation, right? Well, now the other side of the coin is that you're trying to do something that nobody else has ever done. You're innovating. You're creating something different, right? Even though persistence has been in a game, persistence like what Star Citizen is doing has never been in a game. Things
And
such as
let me jump in here.
Sure.
Your Call of Duty reference. Call of Duty, the company that made the company, is already established. CIG took 3 years from 2012 to 2015 to really become a company.
Right.
And then they had to make all the tools and assets for the game to do what they do.
Exactly.
Whereas Call of Duty, they've already had those assets a long time ago.
Exactly. And so you've got this situation where the game is innovating, right? Creating new stuff that's never been done before, designing while the game is being done, its engine, at the same time working on a separate game, Squadron 42, at the same time, right?
At the same time.
And growing the company at the same time. So if I were to say,
And, one more thing.
Sure.
Plus, they put out live updates. For the community, like anywhere from twice a year to 5 times a year, depending on the year.
And keeping it playable.
So that puts them back too.
Keeping it playable, right? Fixing bugs while at the same time trying to build and progress. So I'm saying if you add all just the few things that we've had, we haven't named everything, but if you just take those things that we just talked about, if the normal game is 5 to 7 years, well, guess where we are right now? We're just finishing year 10, right? So that's why I said when I heard about Star Citizen, my attitude about that was, at least 10 years, at least. Now I know that's a hard pill to swallow because it's a long time to wait for a game, but for what we're getting and what we hopefully will get, I think when the dust clears, people will be like, it was worth it. That's what I feel like. Once the dust clears.
When I got into the game in 2014, that's when I actually back. I heard it in 2012, but I didn't get into it in 2014. I thought they were predicting 2016.
Yeah.
When I came in, I was like, they'll probably be a few behind 2016. I was not expecting them to hit the 2016 though.
Yeah. Okay. All right, we got some folks waiting in line. Let's bring them in. I got Dark Knight, then we'll bring in the queue. DK, how are you, man?
Doing all right, man. How you guys doing?
Okay. What's your thoughts on today's summit?
It was a good summit. It really was. I was glad. I was happy to be a part of it, and and to be able to contribute. Just like Pop said, we actually be able to engage, and it was just nice to get everyone's point of view. I think it was a unique experience to hear everyone's opinions or thoughts about their content and how how their communities reflect and how they engage and and things that they would like to see or do. And I thought that was really cool. That they could do that and maybe continue to do this as we were talking about the Discord server, being able to continue to do something like that and get feedback and shoot ideas around and things like that. And I thought that was a really cool experience to hear their thoughts. And it was good to get an idea of for my own sake developing any content, and for me content right now, fastcart, you're doing the same thing as making the music. It's for me, is creating music for the community. It takes time, it takes dedication to do it. My work schedule makes it extremely difficult because a lot of the times I don't have evenings, enough time in the evenings to be able to create it. And on the days off, I'm raising a kid, so I'm incredibly busy there. But when I get to put the time into it, it's worth it. When people hear, say, "Oh, that sounded great. Thank you." I put a lot of time into doing that. It takes effort, and we're not getting paid for it. We're paying to do it for the most part.
Let me ask you a question, because there was a couple of people made reference to CIG compensating us in some form.
Yes.
Right? So, boy, oh boy, there are already people who think that we get compensated by CIG, right? I mean, there are people who they already think that you're getting something, and mind you, now I don't want to say the wrong thing. CIG from time to time will give certain content creators randomly, different people, they'll give them something to give away. Okay. Please understand that that is a two-way relationship. The content creator gains something from it because they're able to do something for the community. CIG is able to do something for the community, but at the same time, the community person who is the benefactor of that also obviously gets excited about the game. Obviously tells their friends about, or hey, I won this ship or whatever. It is a two-way thing. But I've had people who believe that there are people on the payroll of CIG, okay? Like there is actually people getting paid or receiving monies, or all the ships in your hangar are from CIG. Fastcart, I'm only speaking for me. I don't know about all that stuff they're giving you, but I ain't never got nothing from CIG.
I got my brand new cube. That's what they gave me.
Everything in my hangar came out of my wallet.
They gave me an empty wallet. Did that count?
Right. You got that right.
Yes.
I think even Montoya did a video on that one time talking about it. He's like, I can't believe you guys think that CIG pays us.
Yes.
Well,
and
okay,
listen,
let me be fair. I have one FU saying from CIG, but that's from my chances are equal compared to everybody else.
And that's what I was going to say. If there is something in my hangar that I didn't pay for, it's because I want it on somebody else's stream or somebody else's event. But I have nothing that we give it. And Fastcart knows this. The stuff that we do from this show, our first year, everything was out of pocket. I paid for everything. I paid for whatever it was we had to do, whatever the subscriptions were. For those of you who'd use the Adobe, what's it called?
Premiere?
The studio. No, the whole studio. Creativity thing. The creative. Adobe Creative. That's a $600 a month subscription. That didn't just fall out the wind. All these different things. I used DaVinci. That's why I pride. I went the full studio version. That's another $300.
I mean, I bought an XSplit lifetime subscription.
XSplit, all these different things. That's all. Now that was our first year. Now listen, I will tell you this, and I'll say it 1,000 times over. Thank you to our community.
Right.
Our community now brings us enough revenue that we are not coming out of pocket.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you. But
couldn't appreciate it more.
Here's the deal. That's our accountability to them. And that's their validation to us to say if they want to give us $5, $2, whatever it is, if they're a Patreon or whatever, that they're saying, hey, we're digging what you guys are doing. Here's something, an appreciation. And we take that same appreciation money and turn it right back into the giveaways or our expenses and everything else. So we are tremendously grateful.
It keeps the lights for the show on.
The people who keep this show going are y'all. It ain't CIG. That's all I'm telling you. It is not. And I'm not saying nothing against CIG with that, because God forbid, could you imagine if they had to start placating every person that this content creator? If they had to satisfy every oh my God, it
would never end. They'd have to hire a team to do that.
No, not gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
No.
All right, DK. Thank you, man. I'm gonna get you okay?
Before we get rid of too late. I gotta say something. Now, before DK left, I wanted to say one thing that I did like today was that Griffin, you gave a prize to the first person who entered the Zoom call today. So I just want to say, next time we do one of these things, make sure you try to show up early, okay?
True enough. All right, let's bring the Q in from excuse me, goodness, because Girl in Pigtails and Q. Let's bring Q in. Q, you there? I think
Q, you there?
Yeah, how you guys
doing?
Hey,
buddy.
How you doing?
Good.
All right.
You got to tune in today a little bit, right?
I did get to tune in. I got to tune in since about 1:30,
Okay.
1:15, somewhere around there. We got back from doing what we had to do, and I got in towards the end. Obviously, the question came up about is it? Well, how do I pose it? The way that I would pose it is, where does the responsibility lie as far as giving information to the community?
The enlightening versus gaslighting.
And you know what I like? A lot of people took what Griffin said and interpreted it in a different way. Because some people didn't want to use that one word that he used, and other people were like, "Oh, let me give you the definition of this word." So I appreciated that. I thought that was cool.
Absolutely, and I don't think anyone I don't know of anyone that is doing it. And I watch a lot of channels that is doing the whole gaslighting thing. The point I was making was more along the lines that is unintentional, because especially in a live stream on Twitch, and YouTube's a little different because you're pre-recorded, you go back and you edit and you make intentional edits to try to present what you're trying to present. But in a live stream environment or a podcast environment where it's a live situation, you're doing a lot of riffing, right? You're just talking, you're just filling the void. You don't want it blank space when you're live, whether it be audio or video. You don't want blank space. So you tend to say things. And unfortunately, sorry, not everyone, and me included, prefaces some of the topics that you talk about as, what I'm talking about right now is not anything CIG said.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about right now is my opinion or my theory crafting.
Right.
And in a live environment, it blends, and it naturally blends. Blends is like, that's a word. Blends. It naturally blends. So it's very tough. But my point was, I think some content creators that I watch live should be a little more cognizant of their tangents, as you were when you're talking about the news. Yeah. And just make sure that they're saying to the audience, look, this is my opinion, and don't be afraid to have other. And you're right, there are wrong opinions, right? That I'm not going into the controversial. I'm just going into you read between the lines. Yeah. On letters of chairman. Everyone does it. It's not just me, you. Everybody that's reading that is reading between the lines. But we're expressing it live, and sometimes people think what we're expressing is something we may know more detail into. Yeah. And it kind of goes back to your statement. No, one, we don't. We're not compensated in any manner, not through money, not through information, not through emotional support. There's no compensation from CIG to us in any manner. I mean, when you say you haven't paid for much on your stream, that's not unusual. We have paid. I mean, you don't get paid to do anything, and it's very limited as to what the users give you to reimburse some of that, I guess you could say. What you see on our stream, 100% paid for by me. 100%. I've never received a ship for giveaway. I've never received anything from CIG, anything at all. It's all 100% just out of me. And we do it because it's our hobby and our passion, which brings me to the whole reason I wanted to call in here is thank you for doing a creator thing that didn't just have live or YouTube creators, because there are a lot of creators out there that do screenshots, for example. I have 7 pieces of artwork in my stream room right now hanging that you can see when we flip around cameras. 5 of them were community created. They do matter. I thank every one of the creators that are out there that do screenshots, that do machinima, that do music, that do all these other things that really don't have a means of monetization, even to get reimbursed for what they're putting out there. They're doing it because they love the game. And that part makes this community a little bit different than most other gaming communities out there. And I appreciate being part of this community so much, of all the variety out there. And it's not just variety in abilities, people's artistic talents, but also diverse. It's a hugely diverse community that I love. I mean, there is so much of this community to learn from everywhere you go. I'm part of so many different communities simply because I want to learn from them, whether it be about the game or a lot of Twitch is just real life shit that's happening, right? I mean, I love the Star Citizen community. I love how open we are. I love how much we share with each other, and I hope we continue that. But yeah, it ain't because of CIG, that's for sure. that may be the beautiful 3D background we use, but it ain't about the CIG, the community as a whole.
Right. Thank you.
One thing that surprised me that I learned today from the summit. This is an informative summit. Thank you. I didn't know you were leaving.
No, I brought him out because I'm moving on and keep it going.
Okay, but one thing that I learned was that I didn't know the hub only focuses on Twitch. I thought I assumed it focuses on both YouTube and Twitch. But it's only Twitch.
Yeah, definitely.
And one thing, other thing, I wanted to bring this up. Talk about conversation from CIG. Part of it the misunderstanding. I want to say, being diplomatic when I say misunderstanding, is sometimes it comes from the journalists, the press, the gaming media. Because way back when, I don't know, before Relay SC became Relay SC, they were known as INN. I think it was Kotaku or one of the other sites who put out an article calling INN a sister company to CIG, and that's in print. That's in journalist print, and it's like, no, that's not true. That's not true. But yeah, so yeah, it's interesting how this information can get misspread.
Wrong. Yeah. Let me throw something that someone said during the summit, and you guys can chime in on this one for sure if you're interested in the subject. Hang on a second. I got a message here from Xylo. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, great. They were watching. That's cool.
Okay.
Okay. So one of the things that was said was sometimes CIG does this to themselves. Sometimes misinformation or bad information goes out or people feel a certain way because CIG has actually said it or they put it out there. And my question to you guys who are watching today is, if this was being developed behind closed doors, it wouldn't happen. We ask for transparency. Some people say we want to know everything that's going on.
No, you don't.
No, I'm just giving an example.
No.
So here, no, I'm saying, no, they do. No, there are people who want the flood doors open. They feel like they're contributing. They want to hear everything. Let's go to the one that kept coming up, Theaters of War.
Mm-hmm.
Theaters of War not only was talked about at the 2018 CitizenCon,
right?
People got to play it,
right? Yep.
I
didn't get to tell. I didn't play it myself.
People got to play it.
I saw the room and everything.
All right, people got to play it, so it existed.
As a matter of fact, it was on the BBC Click.
Right. Okay. So it existed. Then that next year they talked about how this other company they picked up. What was it? Sprite. What was this called? Fire Sprite. Whatever it was. The other company was going to be dedicated to doing Theaters of War. Right. Now some of us already know what happened with Fire Sprite. Right. They got bought up, I think, by Microsoft. I don't know what happened behind the scenes. We don't know if Theater of War is thrown out the window or still existed. But then people want to say, well, they put that out there and then they changed up and blah, blah, blah. So my question is, if we want the transparency and if CIG is throwing stuff against the wall to see what sticks and see what works, and if they decide, I think someone mentioned it earlier, I think it was Zark or somebody was talking about how Theaters of War became Siege of Orison. Siege of Orison, actually, a lot of it is what people were expecting from Theaters of War. If Theaters of War was the playground or the preempt, the beginning of that idea, and then CIG says, well, you know what? Let's incorporate this thing into the PU, right? We've seen how it works here. And maybe later on, we'll develop this something else. Maybe we'll develop that as some other standalone game, or maybe it'll be a console for the future, or maybe we'll just trash it because we got what we needed from it. Is CIG being dishonest, or you know what I'm saying? You know, because they gave us the insight into something that got us chomping at the bit and got hungry, and then when it didn't get delivered, how do we process that? You know, how do we process that?
Another example of that is Seder Ball. You got to see that at the 2015.
Yeah, but that was all conceptual. That was all conceptual stuff. That was in the beginning when they were showing us what they could do. Don't get me wrong. Seder Ball's in lore, and I believe Seder Ball will come out eventually. So I don't think that's lost. But I'm saying we've actually seen something that they put in our hands. We were playing it at CitizenCon. It went to another company who was going to develop it. Then all of a sudden, we don't hear nothing else about it. You see what I'm saying? So anybody want to jump in to chat on that? You guys, the link is popping up. You guys can come in and give us your thoughts about that, because that was an interesting thing that was raised today. CIG sometimes does it to themselves. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just asking when CIG does do it, how do we process that as content creators or those of you who are just game players? How do you process that? Let's bring in Pops. Pops, Dave, what's up?
Yeah. You know, I want to jump you back kind of to Sunday with Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things I've noticed. This is just my opinion. Kickstarter, because it's where a lot of companies go to get new funding, and a lot of places have failed.
Mm-hmm.
So where Chris Roberts chose to get it started, to see well it was going to be received. Right. So I think from there, or possibly you may know better than I do, because so I'm just speaking of my limited knowledge. So I think from Kickstarter, people want to know, is this a scam? Oh, it's scam. Look at the price of the ships. And it's so on and so forth. So the transparency is what I'm getting to. The transparency. Do you think that the need for transparency came because of Kickstarter?
Absolutely. Because there's a way of being accountable for what CIG was going to do. See, I'm not going to just give you money because you tell me you're going to make a game. You know what I'm saying? They gain greater credibility by not only saying we're going to show you what we're doing behind the curtain, but we're also going to let you play it while we're doing it. Because otherwise, if they went to a publisher, they'd have to let a publisher know what they were doing. They'd have to let a publisher know where they were going with the game and where the game is moving. So they just translated that into the same people like a publisher would be throwing up the money. You as a backer are throwing up the money. Now, mind you, you're not an investor. You ain't got no vote. You know what I'm saying? They ain't gotta do nothing. You know what I'm saying? But they did it as a one hand washing the other. Plus, they get the benefit of you testing the game in a larger scale than any QA that they could develop, right?
Exactly.
So there's a go ahead, fastcart.
Well, I don't have the page open, but I believe on either the Kickstarter page or the Kickstarter video, they said that there's going to be open development. That's something Chris Roberts or it was I believe it was explicitly said. So that's you know. They have to follow up on that. They don't have to, but that's one of the goals of the Kickstarter to be. And you remember that, Griffin?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Matt Style said this too. It's a good point that Matt Style mentioned. Kickstarters are shady. It's shady central, and it is. There are a lot of there, and it's not just shady. It's shady because there are people out there who do stuff who have no intention of completing things. They just throw it out there. But then there's been plenty of companies that had good intention to produce a game. They get out there, either they don't get the funding they need, or they get the funding that they did need, but they mismanagement, or the project or the scope of the project was beyond their ability. There's a whole lot of things that don't happen. People have tossed in money. What was that game? Oh, God. A lot of people put into it. It was a Dungeons and Dragons type game. It got like $8 million.
I don't remember the name of it.
Some of y'all in the room probably coughed up some money for it. But this game went for like 7-8 years, and they $8 million. And man, they the only thing they produced was not Shroud of Avatar. Shroud of Avatar, that one came out. No, not Ashes of Creation. They're still working on that. That's still good.
Ashes of Creation is going strong. Yeah,
I'll think of it in a minute. All of a sudden, I'll blurt it out of my mouth. But people saw this thing because Geo put money on this sucker, and he was hot mad. Right. But it was promising for D&D. This was several years back, like around 2015, 2014. And no, not EverQuest Next. Yeah, but EverQuest Next failed too. People coughed up money for that. I'll think of it in a minute, guys. But my point is, there have been people who've been burned in that arena, and I'm not saying necessarily that was why Chris did it. All I'm saying is that Chris created. First of all, he was doing something different that nobody else had done by opening the door of development up and saying, hey, we're going to let you guys see a little bit behind the curtain what we do. Okay. And of course, that's enticing, right? To get to see it and get to play it too. I ain't got to just put money up and wait, but I can actually play it while you're doing it. Now, we didn't know it was going to be bug infested when, okay, but you know, I get to play it. You know, well, who's about Qbert? You are too funny, Danger. Talking about Qbert 12. Okay, what are you gonna say, Pops?
Okay. No, and this is another side to that sword that I believe that happened. Was that big gaming companies, because he went to Kickstarter, and they absolutely wanted it to fail, but Chris Roberts took it. And made it into a positive. So now that put a big scare into big companies like EA, so on and so forth. So they probably maybe might have, kind of funding that rhetoric against them.
Yeah,
because
there are
You know,
there
go
are
ahead.
people who there are some people. Montoya has a great video out about this,
Montoya, yeah.
where he talks about, is there some benefit to bad PR? Because when you start looking at who some of the publishers are who put out negative stuff, you often find out that they're owned by Sony or some of these other companies that are also publishing games. And now, of course,
Right.
the reader may not know that. The reader may see it comes out from so-and-so online magazine and think that's an independent source, not realizing, Top Shelf, thank you for that follow, not realizing that it's actually owned by, Sony, or whoever, but some other company. And so maybe there could be a little bit of hate and shade that is purposefully being put out because, this is no different, Pops, you're in the music industry. It's no different than if you're trying to publish a record on your own, right? It takes a lot of work to publish music on your own. That's why people will sign the contract with the devil, with a record label, mostly because of distribution. Because you can produce the record now and you make it in your house and sound great. But if don't nobody know about it and hear about it with marketing, but it's not going to go nowhere. And that's what a publisher is really about, getting the game out there through marketing so that money can be made. And Chris has said, basically, I'm not going to do that model. I want the freedom to work without deadline. I'm also going to allow the community to be that voice that lets people know what's going on. Because we've talked about this before. It has only been recently. All these years, CIG has never run one commercial. Any information. When I'm not talking about the trailers for ships.
Yeah, not talking about.
I'm talking about a commercial. I'm talking about a marketing commercial. We look at those commercials and look at them that way, but that's not really what they are. They are marketing. Don't get me wrong. But I'm talking about a commercial, like on TV, commercial about the game, commercial. And just recently, we've only had some stuff that they've done. I think somebody just told me recently they had something that popped up on YouTube as a commercial.
Yeah, it was. And Chronicles of Illyria.
Yes, Chronicles of Illyria. Thank you. Thank you, New Soul. There we go. All right, let's.
Griffin, you bring up an excellent point. I'll be gone after this. The music industry was going down, and the biggest commercial that was put out at the time to save the music industry was American Idol.
There you go. There you go. You're right. Okay. All right, Pops.
Okay.
Appreciate you.
All righty.
All right. Let's bring in a little bit of a little bit of madness. Hasn't been here a little bit. A little bit of madness. How are you?
Hey boys, what's up?
Good. Welcome back.
Nice to be back.
Yeah.
Very nice.
No problem.
Yeah, what's up?
What you got?
Well, actually, so we're talking about, just so it can be clear again on this one, talking about Star Citizen CIG's open communication. Is that what we're talking about here?
Well, yeah, we were talking about, I don't know, did you know that we did the Content Creator Summit today?
You guys were on when I'm putting my kids to bed, pretty much. So I caught a tiny little bit of it.
That's okay.
I don't
What
know.
you do
Firstly,
about it?
respect about how many people you managed to get. I don't know how you can keep those people not talking over each other. Because damn, it was hard on my podcast just doing 3 people. Like that's hard work.
No,
so respect to you guys.
To be honest, the hardest thing we're trying to keep people under a minute. That was
Okay.
the hardest part.
Yeah, I
we
can
had some house
imagine.
rules. We had some house rules before we started the stream, so don't worry. They were very respectful to it. They did really good. Honestly, they did really good. Yeah, because content creators, we can talk. You're right. So go ahead.
Oh yeah. No. So I'm a bit long in the tooth, similar to some people here. I've been around a bit. I've done shows and content for this game for a long time. So when you talk about, like, in terms of, I'll touch on a few things. So the first thing is how much information is too much information or not enough information. So a lot of people here probably don't know, or maybe do know, when CIG, when they first made their terms of contract back in the day, like 2012, I think it was, there was a clause in there that by a certain period of time, if they hadn't achieved a certain thing, I think it was like either the game was released or certain times, they were going to turn over all their financial records to the community.
Yep.
Now, it was getting up to the year before that was happening. I think it was very close to the thing. And then on their webpage, they changed their terms of service. So when you clicked, you approved, you agreed to changes that happened on the webpage, and immediately it absolved them of being able to provide that information. So when we talk about open communication, I use that as an example where they were uncomfortable at that point, clearly, with providing that piece of information to the community for whatever reason. I can, whether we agree with it or don't with it, but that was like a moment in history for me when I researched, because I wasn't at that period of time, when I realized, I noticed there was a little bit of okay, maybe this open development is, like there's conditions here. They don't want to show certain things for good or for bad. And then you talk about, like, in terms of Chris's communication has been woeful when it comes to time. I mean, there's no one can argue that. I mean, it's there. It's terrible. And for me, as when I first backed it, it was I believed it. And then now I don't believe it. So when he says things, I don't. And there's a whole new generation of people who will be like me, who will believe what Chris says is to a degree, because most people don't really watch too much of the stuff in the past. Do you know what I mean? The old farts that are around, you know, with all their old salt maybe still lingering around, maybe just give them a reminder now and again, but generally they won't. And you can see that with the numbers, right? The people back in the project, they're all coming on, and we're getting what? How many more people joined in the last year or two?
A lot, yeah, thousands. I forget how many. It's a lot.
I forget the number, but during the IEE, during the free fly, 15,000 new accounts were made in one day.
Yeah, it's and I mean, for me, people get wooed and wowed by the stats, like 70% retention on that, like 70% people rejoining. And for me, I kind of look at it and I go, I'd like to know of that 70%, how many are playing in 2 years, you know, consistently. That's what I would love to know. That would be an interesting statistic to see how much that stays after a long period of time. But that besides the point. But in terms of this topic, I find it really interesting because I was just saying in chat to Q, I was saying, this is one of those, we can never balance this scale of communication, open development, because it's always going to be, they give too much information and then it would backfire. Like, for example, the golf swing, if anyone was around for that, you know, you know, they provide too much information, and then then all of a sudden they'll bring out like a new item, like an eye tracker thing that's a webcam or whatever that we're going to buy or whatever, and people can buy it and give them the money, and then what happens to it? Has anyone got them?
Right?
Does anyone achieve them? You know? Yeah. So for me, it's just it's constant in flux. They keep making lots of mistakes, but then at the same time, we do get open development. We do get to see stuff. They're more open than anyone else. If you think about, for example, Beyond Good and Evil 2 from Ubisoft, it's like, where's that game?
Yeah,
that was like, you know, and people they had this huge web page and all this sort of stuff. So it's a tough one.
Let me ask you a question. You raised some good points, man. And the thing is, I think that when you've been around long enough, you start to adapt, if that makes sense. In other words, you've got expectations, but they're not expectations that you've built the world around. You know what I'm saying? Like I know they're going to do 4.0. Now, if you ask me, do I think it's going to come out September of next year? I'm not going to have that expectation. You know what I mean? But I am going to have the expectation that 4.0 is going to come. Okay. So you start to balance out the difference between when there's too much information given and when there's too little information that's given. And you mentioned about
what's important.
You talk about the new people who are coming in.
Yeah.
And my question is it possible that the further we get into development, Chris Roberts might actually start becoming right? In other words, the earlier days were so much based on vision.
Yeah.
But as we develop and as the tools are completed and as the things are starting to come together, will the day come where Chris says January 15th that we actually will see January 15th happen because we're moving further into the prospect? I'm curious, do you think that could happen? Could it happen? I'm saying will.
Well, I mean, okay, so from my perspective in my life, if you told me when I was a young 14-year-old, when I sat there and I said, I want to become a footwear designer, and then, you know, in 10 years' time, I was, you know, a footwear designer designing shoes and people watching around and seeing people wear them, I would have been like, initially, I'd have been like, you're kind of crazy. But the one thing I've learned in this world is that if you believe something enough and you go at it and work hard enough at it, the universe has a weird way of making that shit come real. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's just weird like that, you know? And I firmly believe that this project has got so many people who want it to succeed and who throw their wallets at it to succeed, and that you've got a team there and they keep making, you know, 100 million and broke records again this year, you know, through all of this stuff. They keep moving forward, whether it's a millimeter or a mile, they keep going. So the answer to that question, in my opinion, is yes, they'll succeed it. Will they succeed it when I've still got hair? I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like, will it have fully gone, and will my kid be
walking your kids down the aisle for their wedding? Yeah, who knows, right? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. You know, will Chris? I mean, you know, I just hope the speed. I just hope that, you know, Chris will live to see it at this speed. You know what I mean? That's my worry. Is no one's getting any younger. You know, and I'm always like, well, what happens? You know, anyway, that's another thing. But for me, in terms of open development, in terms of open development, I think it's hard to balance. I think they will always struggle on this one. I think they will keep making mistakes as they have done. I think so long as they don't do what the Wizards of the Coast have done and get something leaked out recently, you know, I mean, that's again, there's an open development. That's the, that's the thing. Is like you got to be in that situation where you don't piss off your community. And the one thing this game has got going for it is its community. They always talk about it. And for me, it's like, if they keep respecting that and they keep working hard, it will happen.
It'll be okay.
You know, but
those are good words.
I just Squadron 42. I just want to know more.
Good words, man. Thank you.
You mentioned having hair. I just hope I have my teeth still. Don't come down.
Thanks again for stopping in. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No worries, man. No worries. No. I was just going to say, for me, it's Squadron 42. I always say this to anyone that says that the Star Citizen is what they back for, and this is the bit that they want. I always say this: Squadron 42 is my lore. It is my movie. It's the Star Wars of the franchise. The reason why I play Star Wars TPRPG, the reason why I got into Star Wars, and I have all the bits and bobs around me that I love, is because of those first 3 movies, ignoring all the other ones. And so for me, without those, they create the immersion that makes the Star Citizen, the PU, that part, have real meaning behind it. Do you know what I mean? That's the part that really becomes special. And without Squadron 42, the PU is meaningless. So for me, I am so jazzed for Squadron 42, and I really hope it comes very soon. It's been a long wait for the part 1, and I really would like to see it soon. Just to makes PE better.
Good point. Absolutely. All right, Madness. Thanks again, buddy.
Always, mate.
All right. Always good to hear from him. Always good to hear from him. Let's bring in the Q, and then I'm going to hit one more thing, and then we're going to. My voice is going. I'm losing it completely. The Q, you here? I know he's got to unmute or close to it.
Yeah, give him a moment. The Q?
He might have stepped away. Maybe the baby's doing something.
No, he just made it. There we go.
Did he? Let's see if he pops up.
The Q is there?
Maybe he's got audio. He might have some audio stuff.
Okay.
What was I gonna say? There was something that Madness was saying. Oh, I was talking about the future. Remember, I was just saying the thing about, do you think a day will come where Chris will call out a date and it'll actually happen? The reason why I said that is because if you remember when we were leading into 318, some of us had a bet on whether or not 318 would make it out by December. Remember? Because remember there was a December 8th date, and then it started pushing, right?
That was a mistake.
And well, here's my point. They still delivered it within a couple of weeks of that date. There were people who were saying it wasn't going to make it this year. There were people saying it's going to be first quarter next year.
To the PTU, yeah.
Yeah, they were saying it's going to be 3.7. They're going to come up with a 0.5. It probably won't be ready. Wow. It'll probably roll over to first quarter of next year. They were only a couple weeks off, is my point. So I wasn't that bent out of shape about December 8th. I was like, if it gets out before the end of the year. Then there were some people who felt like, well, if it comes out and then if it's buggy, it's going to be a problem. You know, that was another thing that came out because we knew what happened when they did it before the holidays months before. And there was a big issue. But guess what? It came out. It was a little buggy, but we survived through it. So I'm just saying, as the tools and the development gets more solid, will that give CIG? I'm not saying that they should. I'm just saying, will that liberty come that if they say second quarter 2024, that actually it'll happen second quarter 2024 because they've gotten it down now. They've gotten past all the stuff of uncertainty that and the vision side of it and gotten more into what's practical and in their hands that they could make a call like that.
I'm going to push back a little bit because they tried something like that with 3.0. It was a whole year.
Fastcart. What year was 3.0? When was that?
2017, 2016?
2016. No. You're talking 6 years later after way more tools are done. There's more staffing. There's more everything. They're way more solid. If you think that they're just the same as they were in 2016.
No, they're not.
Okay, and that's my point. And that's my point.
But,
listen, at some point, they've got to be able to say when Squadron's coming out. It ain't going to be no hit or miss. It's got to be on point. And I'm saying the only way you can do that is when you definitely know that you've gotten to a certain point with the development that you can actually say the game's going to be ready. I would hope so because you and I talked about well, you know, you and I said back in the old days when the game came out on CD-ROM or disc, that was it. There wasn't no
Yeah,
fixing. There
there
wasn't no
first-
fixing.
There was no day one patch back
There
then.
was no bad day launch. The game came out and
Yeah.
it had to work, and I'm hoping that that's going to happen with CIG too. All right, the Q looks like he's back, and then certified. I think he's back. Did you put him up there, or did he go up there?
No, he came back on his own.
Okay, so let me bring certified. What? Which one do you want me to bring in?
I'm saying the Q came back on his own, so it might be good now.
Okay, all right, let's bring him back. You there, Q? Nope. All right. Oh, there he is.
There
Okay.
it is.
All right.
Hey, on the topic of too much, too little information. First, I'd like to say I don't know of another public company that is competing in a very crowded and aggressive marketplace that gives out as much information as they already do. So that alone should be stated that you're not going to be able to name many, if any, companies that give out as much proprietary, information that their competitors could use against them, in a marketplace where they really have to succeed whenever Squadron 42 does come out. They have to succeed, right? So that's tough. But I also want to say that as a backer and as a significant backer, I don't back for the minimum. I back for a significant number, and I do it every month. That wasn't just one time back in 2015. I've done it every month. What I'm backing isn't Chris Roberts' original vision, because any person of age would be able to tell you that what they thought 10 years ago, gets altered as new information comes in over 10 years. So you're even though the concept was the best damn space game or PvP centric, or it doesn't really matter how you think of that, as the community grows and new ideas and new technology comes in, that base vision may not change, the best damn space game, but the little details will change over time. And what I backed for was what I believe to be a competent team of people that can come up with ideas and execute those ideas, knowing damn well that no one is perfect. I have a company, and I'm telling you right now, companies make a lot of mistakes, just like you do in your personal life. I do in my personal life. People make mistakes, and it's how they move forward with those. Well, I said Griffin me, Griffin me and the rest of the audience out there, fastcart. No, but it's whether or not those mistakes are so big. And sometimes we don't get to know why they make the decisions they make. For example, theaters of war. There's a variety of reasons why they may have delayed it or canceled it altogether, but there's also equally as many reasons why they may have done it that would put them at a competitive disadvantage for whatever reason. They know that another company is doing X, Y, or Z, and they don't want to give out information. And we also have to accept that too, that there is company proprietary information that if they told us the real deal, it might hurt them long-term. And we have to accept that too, and hope that the product managers and the marketing team and the people that we're backing, because we're not backing a product so much as we're backing a team to create that product. We have to either trust them or not. And I trust that they're making competent decisions.
Yeah, that's a good point, because much of what we're doing to build a game is also tied into building the company. And that's a whole nother dynamic, right? Because
exactly
when we've talked about this, we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago talking about what's CIG going to do about revenue once we get past this ship buying stuff, because buying ships ain't gonna be enough to keep things on the float. You know what I'm talking about, for a 10-year, 20-year plan. And so there's these we've talked about in CIG, there's the dynamic of the tools that they're building. There's licensing. There's other games that could come. There's all types of cool stuff. There's stuff that could go into the motion picture industry. All these other things that could bubble out of this eventually to help sustain what we have built, or the groundwork that we've put in place already. But like you said, there's a lot of information. As much as people may feel entitled to some of that information, as you mentioned, from a business standpoint, yes, there's some stuff we can tell you. There's some other stuff, I'm sorry, we can't pull the curtain back. You can't see all the levers that the wizard is pulling,
Well, I also want to say that.
Go ahead, Steve.
I'm sorry,
Steve was going to say something.
Yeah, real quick, I just want to say, they said before, like, once the game is officially out, they're going to stop selling concept ships. That's what they said. They may change their mind, you never know, but as far as we know, that's still planned. They will still sell the starter packages and sell skins and stuff like that.
Right.
But as far as concepts go, they said that they're going to stop that.
Yeah, and hanger flare ain't enough to keep the company floating. I think that's what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? $5 flare ain't gonna cut it.
I think cosmetics are. I honestly think cosmetics are. If you look at the broader gaming community, cosmetics are something that can be a moneymaker, but I think more
Oh yeah,
importantly,
moneymaker. But I'm talking
Squadron
about floating the
42
company. I'm talking about floating the
Squadron
company.
42
Yeah.
has to succeed.
Yes. Yes.
In the
Agreed.
last 5 years, your average AAA title game has made over $500,000 in the first quarter.
Yep.
They made that in 10 years.
Yep.
And for anyone out there that thinks $500 million for a company of their size over 10 years is a good amount of money, they've never run a company. My company has to make almost triple that in revenue every year.
Yeah.
Every year.
Yeah.
Right. Not. If I were to give you right now, Griff, fastcart, and intelligent people in your community, $500 million up front and say that you have 10 years to make a company that will consistently pull in $100 million a year, most people would fail because it is hard.
Yep.
And that's with the money up front.
Yep.
It's hard to create a multinational 800-man company that had to create their own tools, buy everything from scratch, offices, equipment, computers, staffing for HR, staffing for IT. The list goes on and on when it comes to a real business. Not only that, making sure that those people that you hired in, that you promised them a future, continue to be able to pay their mortgage month after month after month, right? These are important things that Chris is doing on a business side that don't get talked about enough. Whether or not it's a big Apple or it's a small startup shop, on your corner store, it matters to those owners that their employees are taken care of, that the product that they're delivering is good. And I do think all that is the case. Has it been a perfect ride? No, but I don't think they've scammed anybody out of any money. I don't think that they are intentionally misleading people as to the product they want to present. And I think they're treating all their employees and their vendors and partners very well. I back this company because I believe in the company, not necessarily in a specific game feature.
Good point. Good point. Okay, Q. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Anyways,
Good
thank you,
thoughts,
brother.
good words, man.
I appreciate it.
Loving it, loving it, loving it. All right. Certified Gumbo coming in for his first time joining us. Certified. How are you, man?
Hey.
Good,
How's
good,
it going?
good. Okay. You were part of the summit as well today. How'd you enjoy?
It was fantastic, and I wanted to come on and just thank both of you because it was honestly fantastic, and I appreciate the invite because I'm like in the Star Citizen community such a small fry that the fact that I'm even on the radar is tremendous. So appreciate it.
No, we were glad you came. I contacted you a little while back, and I told you I'd seen you guys show and really enjoyed it. And I think while you guys were on a hiatus, I'm like, man, when are they coming back? Blah, blah, blah. And I had to track you down. And I said, okay, I've figured out a way to reach you and say, hey, I really hope you can come by and hang out with us. I'm glad you made it today.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, good. Was there anything in particular that you took away from the summit that really stuck with you?
Yeah, I think this should happen more often. Like, not necessarily implying that you guys should host if you don't want to.
I'm glad you're implying that too, not implying it. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Some way, some format for us to be able to do that more often would be fantastic. I think CitizenCon is like the best place to do that. But yeah, I mean I think the company. Going back to CIG real quick and like this whole development and being able to predict, because I think that was a very interesting conversation. I think once they have the engine in a more mature place and their tool set is more complete, then yeah, it would be much easier for them to predict how quickly they can get something delivered. We're still very much in the early stages. They still have a lot of foundational tech that they've got to work out, just like server meshing and PES, because they're still hardening that. But yeah, like I think once they've gotten server meshing and Quanta is in a place where it's working as intended, then I think it'll be a lot easier, because I think the tools that they already have are further along than we think, or at least that's my hope, because I had time during our hiatus to kind of go back because I was out of town working on a TV show, and I didn't have my streaming rig, so I was able to in my downtime go back and just kind of look at a lot of the inside Star Citizen stuff and things that I've missed over the years. And I think that they're further along on a lot of content than we may or may not think. It's just that we haven't seen it in so long that they've got these teams, they can't be doing nothing. Like they're working on the game. Like it's just that they can't. Why put out 4 or 5 systems when you know that it requires PES and server meshing for it to work the way they intend for it to. Like I just think that yes, it's taken a very long time to develop Stanton, but even in this year, we went from having 1 river to 40. Like that shouldn't be understated in the slightest. Like I think that's a credit to their tools team. Like they're able to quickly deliver more content at a rapid pace than what they've been able to over the past few years.
Okay, good point. All right, Gumbo. Well, thank you for coming and hanging out with us, man.
No
and thanks
problem.
for coming to the event once again. We really appreciate it. We're looking forward to seeing some stuff on you. You guys make sure you check out Certified Gumbo, y'all, especially if you're into just geek content. They cover comics, just everything, Marvel Universe, DC, everything. So check them out when you guys get time. You guys
put a post in Twitch chat so people can follow you by clicking on your name.
Yeah. Do you guys do anime?
So we do in our Discord, but we do not have a show technically dedicated to anime.
I'm asking because that's fastcart's thing, so I was going to try to get him to come over there and check you guys out. So that's why I'm asking. Okay?
Yeah, no, for sure. We definitely are in our Discord, and it's only because like none of us that run the shows are what we would consider to be experts in anime, but we will cover it from time to time when we.
I've been watching anime since '91.
Yeah, get Fastcart to come on for you. He'll hook you up, okay?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Gumbo, take care, buddy.
All right.
Okay. That's cool. That's cool. We're gonna wrap it up, gang, because we don't have anybody else in the queue, and I'm not gonna sit here and make up stuff. I just wanted to know what people thought about.
It's been a long day already.
Oh Lord, we've been talking all day. I just wanted to know what people thought of the event today. Just so you guys will know, for those of you who didn't get to watch the entire thing, the Content Creators Summit was designed specifically, like we've had the virtual bar citizens. It was kind of like the same thing, but just for content creators. So we vetted everybody who came in. These are people who had content on YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, or they produce some form of content such as machinima or maybe soundtracks, music, or photography, graphics. And we had a really great group of folks that were there today. So I want to give a shout out to everybody who participated. They stayed an extra hour to talk because we were only supposed to be there for 3 hours. They said, now we want to keep talking. We stayed an extra hour. And so thank you for them.
They would have gone for longer.
No, they wouldn't have. No, they wouldn't have, because I'd have pushed the end button. So no, they were really great. And they just shared a lot of information with each other. And I think the thing that came out of it was, there were several things. There was respect for each other's work. There was support for each other's work. There were compliments to people saying, I've been influenced by your work and what you've put out and what you've done. So there was a lot of just really cool stuff. There was a lot of good kumbaya in there. But then there was also the things that people talking about the difficulties of what it was to be a content creator. And but at the same time, we had people who had been there streaming or putting out content for 10 years. We've had people that were in there who just been there since November of this last year, just for 3 months.
And I think people are already looking forward to the next summit. So yeah.
They can look forward to it. I'll just leave it that way. They can look forward to it. That's all I'm going to say on that one. Okay. So, FC, thank you for sitting in with me today, because my voice is gone, and you definitely helped me out with getting things going
problem,
today,
man.
with vetting everybody.
Griffin, thank you for all the effort you put into this. Because I mean, people have been saying thank you for me and Griffin. It's mostly Griffin, because this is his baby, and he's the one that follows through and got it all together.
You know what? You know what Fastcart does, guys? When I come to Fastcart with an idea, and he does this. He's like, oh no, really? Are we gonna do this? You know, and he gets on board. He's like, okay, listen, I run it past him. I say, Fastcart, what do you think about this movie?
I'm not sure how well it's gonna go, but then it goes well. I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't know anything.
Yeah. So no, Fastcart's just as much a part of this, because I have to bounce stuff off of him, because I need a sounding board to make sure I'm not losing my mind. So anyway, thanks again, everybody, for being here. Thank you for those of you who followed today, who subscribed, who told other people about the Content Creator Summit today. We really appreciate that, you all getting the word out for us. And of course, those of you who give to us every month, you guys make what we do possible. And tomorrow's show, which I don't have a card up for, Can I bring up the card? Why don't you tell people what the show tomorrow is about? And I think I can
gotta look it up myself.
You
It's
gotta-
318, right?
So you got to remember yourself.
Dr. Miller's supposed to be on, correct? Yeah, it's update 318. Supposed to be a review of 318 so far. And Dr. Miller's going to be on. That's Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 1 a.m. UTC.
There we go. There's the big card. I don't want to block Fastcart's beautiful face up there. But that's going to be our show tomorrow. Now, mind you, as a lot of you all know, 318 is still in PTU. So what we're going to do is just review the things that we've covered. We're not going to, I don't think we're going to be able to cover everything because there's some stuff in that game I haven't even gone to visit yet. I'm going to do my best to get into the sand cave today.
That note for 318 is ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, I haven't seen one new river yet. I'm hoping I can get to the sand cave. And there are some other things. I got to do some salvaging and stuff. Hopefully we'll get to talk about some of that with you guys tomorrow. So hopefully you guys will be able to join us for that show. And we'll look forward to seeing you there. Fastcar, who can
Don't
we...
forget to today's Podcast Saturday.
Oh, yeah, why don't you talk about that? Because I'm going to look for who we can raid. Who don't you talk about
Okay,
that?
sure. So, yeah, today's Podcast Saturday, as you know, we started with Soul Voices. That starts at 3 p.m. Eastern. We go into Paul Shelley, the Astro Pub, the Captain Table. That starts at 6 p.m. Well, it starts earlier now, but Eastern. And then we end up with Relay Station at 9 p.m. Eastern. So, thank you. Hopefully, everybody can tune in for all that. That's a whole day of a podcast with Star Citizen.
That's it. All right, gang. We are definitely going to send you guys over, since it's Podsat, over to Paul Shelley. You guys, when you get over there, say hi to him. You guys know Paul, the Astro Pub. He's already got his show going for Captain's Table. Thank you guys again for being here with us. That's all I can say to you guys. My voice is going. And hopefully we'll see you guys. Yeah, hopefully we'll see you guys on tomorrow. Okay. Peace, love, and soul. Take care of yourselves.
Peace, love, and soul.
All right. We'll see you soon. Adios.
Empire. We've done